What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode here of the BlockHash podcast. Today with Sign, I have the co-founder and CTO Jack. Sign is a company building smarter, more transparent systems for global token distribution and credential verification. They have a number of awesome products that they have out and released that are really, truly fantastic. And we're going to dive into a bunch of those today. Jack, welcome on. It's a pleasure to have you here. How's it going? How's your Monday?
It's good. Thanks for having me. It's an early Monday, but it's a good start of the week.
To get this episode going, I'm sure people would love to learn a little bit more about yourself and your backstory and how you got into the Web3 industry. Everyone's got an interesting story, I would say, in this space. So, what kind of led you into this wonderful world of Web3 and what eventually led you to co founding Sign?
Yeah. That's I like that question actually because it's been a quite interesting journey. But TLDR is I lost a bunch of money in 2018, and then I stayed for the tech, or I just coped really hard. That's the short version. But here's the longer version. So. Um, I actually, so as a CTO, I've from the very beginning when there were only the three of us, so we have three co-founders. I was the one that programmed everything. I was like the CS major, the technical person, but I actually used to be a film major. I used to actually go to film school. Yeah, so when I was growing up, I was kind of equally invested in cameras and computers. But by the time that you're about to go to university, you apply, you have to kind of make a decision. So I went with like film stuff first. So I actually got started off as a film major. But then after like a year and a half, I realized I was really hopeless as an artist. My drawings were terrible. I only passed a live drawing class because the teacher didn't want to have me again. And so I transferred to CS.
So,
And
fair to say, you'll make a movie one day then about this space.
I appreciate your words, but I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that even if I make one, I doubt that you want to watch it. But anyhow, so I transferred to CS. I went to USC, and as I said in TLDR, my first introduction to the cryptoverse was actually the 2018 or 2017 pump when Bitcoin first went up to like what 19K, 16K, I forgot. The number seems kind of ridiculous now, but back then, it was like a different type of ridiculous, right? Back then it was ridiculously high. Now it's like, can you imagine 19K Bitcoin, right? So I lost a good deal of money on Ethereum because like many others, I bought the top, and sadly, it's still happening recently. but anyhow, so but I did lose like a bit of money, but I actually, so a lot of people, they were really quick to dismiss this whole thing as like a scam and everything, but I decided to kind of investigate, what did I really lose my money on. And so I looked into the technical aspects of it because I had no idea what blockchain was. I just kind of bought into it because like it was pumping, it was on the news, and by the time it was on the news, it was too late, right? That's when I started kind of learning Solidity, and I took a university class on blockchain. So USC actually, University of Southern California, they actually have a blockchain minor. And right now I actually work part time. I actually lecture there part time, teaching smart contract development. But back then the minor only had one class because they couldn't find anyone else to teach the other ones, which is like introduction to Bitcoin, introduction to like the blockchain stuff. And that's kind of, I took that class, and that's where I met like my other co-founder, Potter. He was taking the class as well. Um, so yeah, and Potter already knew the third co-founder, so the CEO. So I'm the CTO. Potter's like the CRO or slash COO, and Shin is our CEO. And Potter was like kind of working with him during the summer at like an internship or something in like some investment firm in China. So they already knew each other. And the CEO Shin, he had the idea of like the whole EthSign thing, which is our first product, and they were looking for someone technical because neither of them had a technical background. So that's when Potter reached out to me, and I thought he pitched me the idea. He and Shin pitched me the idea. I thought it was interesting, and that's kind of how the whole thing got started. And I remember vividly. I walked out of one of my classes to take like the phone call, and that was like February or March 2020, right before like the COVID lockdown started. And really fun story. Like I haven't met my co-founder Shin until like a year into working on this, because like he was in China, I was here, and so we worked remote for like a year or a year and a half, or I forgot how long it was, and we didn't meet each other until then. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, wow. So did you build this out and work on it completely remote at the time then?
Yeah, completely remotely. Yeah.
Impressive, impressive. And I know you guys got a pretty good sized product suite here for Sign. I want to dive into everything, but also want to talk about your guys' protocol as well, Sign protocol. And curious if you guys designed it in a certain way so that it can be leveraged more in regards to verifying information on chain, or what maybe perks or benefits that it has versus other chains when it comes to some of those aspects.
Yeah, so so Sign Protocol itself, so we're not a chain yet. I'm not going to say anything, but we're currently we're mostly like we're present on a lot of blockchains, and we try to aggregate information. So you can think of Sign Protocol as like a center of trust for humans in the trustless world of blockchain. So you know. In the world of blockchain, the word trustless is thrown around a lot because everything is proven by math. Everything's mathematical. If I want to prove that you really signed a transaction, well, we can use math cryptography to prove it. But in real life, that's kind of not how humans operate, right? Uh, it's just it's a result of like being human, I guess, for thousands of years, like the way that our society is set up. Like we just need trust. So this is, for example, right? Like you trust that your bank is not going to just like take your money and disappear or something, right? Like every single aspect of life, there is an implication of trust, and and that's what Sign Protocol tries to do. Like we try to put the trust that the humans need onto the blockchain, where the programs are trustless. So we're trying to kind of bridge the two worlds here. So you can think of Sign Protocol in some other words. It's like a public repository or database of mathematically or cryptographically verifiable statements made by a sender, and that sender could be a human or a smart contract or an AI agent. But basically, we're trying to build a platform where anyone or anything, they can make a statement, and then they can prove that they really did make that statement, and we make it really easy for other people to query those statements and to kind of build on top of it. So all the data entries posted on Sign Protocol are digitally signed by the respective senders, and if the senders decide to post their data on chain, then the data is actually readable by any smart contract. And the coding instructions are embedded into something we call the data schema. So you can think of it as like a blueprint for the data, a skeleton, the structure to help other people use it, right? So again, as I said before, right, the sender can be anything. It could be a human, a smart contract, or an AI agent, or whatever. Anything that kind of is able to make their own decision and also have some sort of authority, right? And that's like the other thing, important thing to realize is that Sign Protocol is really fundamentally like a proof of authority system. So for example, right, if I stated that you are not a U.S. resident, would anyone take my word for it? Okay, maybe some people, but but not really, because like, who am I, right? I'm in the grand scheme of things, I'm more or less of a nobody. I have no authority over this matter. I'm not some KYC provider. I'm not like some government employee that has access to your immigration records. I have no idea. But obviously, if a well-known KYC provider such as SumSub or Plaid, which we actually work with, if they made this statement, then you're more inclined to trust this statement because you trust the issuing authority, right? They are the KYC authority. Versus me, I'm just like some random guy doing the podcast, right? Um, so let's say that some sub or Plaid made the statement saying that you're not a U.S. resident, and they posted it onto the blockchain, where smart contracts are able to read it. And once that's done, then a lot of really cool things can happen. So, for example, right? So like for example, you can have like an airdrop smart contract, and maybe one of the criteria is that you want to verify that this address doesn't belong to a U.S. resident. So then, that smart contract can query the data that some sub or Plaid or whatever KYC provider posted, and then they can query the data directly, and then perhaps deny the airdrop service if if you're missing the KYC data, or if they identified you as a U.S. resident, right? So we're aggregating verified credentials on chain. We're trying to build like a larger network than any single exchange or DApp can achieve alone. So we want to act as like the trust central, if you will, of the Web3 world. And a lot of different sectors can directly benefit from like our expansion. And and then one thing that's kind of really hot. Well, it wasn't. It's not really hot recently. I mean, nothing's hot because everything's dead because of the market. But something that people have been talking about for like in the past couple of years is like RWA use cases, like real world assets. And in order for that to work, right, you need to kind of somehow bridge your Web2 and Web3 identities. And I think, through us, when we aggregate all the credentials from both worlds, we can really accelerate the merge of crypto and the quote unquote real economy of the Web2 world.
It's fascinating, man. I love what you guys are working on in terms of your protocol, because trust is the cornerstone of blockchain, essentially, decentralizing trust, taking it away from a lot of those intermediaries, other companies, other governments, being able to do something in a way that allows you to have either more control of your data or to streamline processes, make things affordable and less expensive. Like there's so many different ways to go about, doing this stuff, and the benefits are pretty various, but decentralizing that trust and those credentials are a cornerstone for blockchain. So it's cool to see you guys working on that in particular. I want to get into some of your guys' products too, because I think it'll really help highlight how some of these things work. One of them in particular is EthSign. And I know that it has over 2 million users, 800,000 contracts signed thus far. You guys really seem to be, setting a standard here for secure, decentralized agreements. Can you explain a little bit about what a decentralized agreement is essentially and why it's important to have? Is this kind of like a contract? Is this something that's like an automated process, like signing into an account, or what can this take the shape of?
Yeah, of course. And I'm glad you asked about EthSign. It used to be our quote unquote company name, until recently we rebranded to Sign. But it was like our OG product. It was the first idea. It was the first product. And I like how you brought up like decentralization here, because and you asked about like what are agreements really, right? And when you think about it, what are you really doing when you're signing some sort of agreement? When you're signing a lease, when you're signing anything, you're really just providing consent, right? But the idea of providing consent, there are a lot of forms. So for example, if you sign a transaction, digitally sign it, you don't really sign it, right? You just click send because you have ownership over your private key, and then your wallet handles all that. But that is a very Web3 thing, right? And if you try to explain what is MetaMask to your grandma, she's not going to understand it, right? And even in some countries like Japan, right, they don't even have a lot of like e-signing penetration. Like a lot of them, they still like stick to their pens and papers just because it's like a remnants of a legacy system. And just a bit off topic, I find Japan very fascinating because they're simultaneously pushing the limits of technology in many different fronts, but also they're really behind in a lot of other like forms, which is I just find it could be it's like a pretty interesting contradiction. But anyhow, back to this, right? So agreements that's the concept of agreements that's most familiar to everyone, to the broadest audience, is really just like signing a document, physically signing or e-signing on a PDF or Word. So when we started e-sign, we are very kind of conscious about this. We weren't kind of like idealistic about governments are going to go away and they're going to all be replaced by smart contracts. I think that's just like way too idealistic of a view. So from the very beginning, we had like a pretty clear stance of where we position ourselves, which is like in the we would like to call ourselves like Web 2.5. So we're trying to take the best of Web 3 and Web 2 and kind of mush them together to kind of help people transition. There are lots of good things about Web 3. Especially related to, because especially as a result of decentralization, for example, you can really kind of have like sovereignty over your funds or assets or whatever. But simultaneously, right, if someone really rugs you, like for example, Bybit got rugged by $1.5 billion in ETH. You can't really call the bank to reverse the transaction because there's no bank, right? So there are goods and bads about like both Web2 and Web3. So we're trying to position ourselves in the middle. We think that's like the smart play from the get go. But as a result, because we want it to be actually usable by traditional users, so we kind of position ourselves as, for the EthSign product, Web3 DocuSign, and that's kind of a lot of the impression that was left on a lot of people. Although I'm glad that you started this. You asked me about like some of our other products because like we've changed and expanded a lot. But kind of going back to this, right? So we've established that an agreement in the context of EthSign really is just like a PDF or a Word document that people sign, just like on DocuSign. But then you ask, well, why don't we just use DocuSign or whatever, right? And why does it have to be decentralized? So first, when you sign something on DocuSign, so there are two parts to a decentralized agreement, right? So there's a storage of the agreement and also the verification mechanism of the agreement, right? So for the storage location, so decentralization kind of means having multiple copies of the agreement, the file itself, and the signing results, so that it's always available, right? So for example, if you sign something on DocuSign or Dropbox sign or whatever, and let's say they go out of business tomorrow, then you actually have no idea what's going to happen to all the data that you have. Now, obviously, they might give you a period to like, they warn you, oh, we're shutting down, so you should like retrieve your data. But if you miss that, if you're on some vacation, right, or I'm sure they're going to give you half a year, but somehow you're in a coma because you looked at the price of ETH and you realize it's the same as 4 years ago, so you just immediately went into a coma. But let's say you somehow missed it, then your data is gone forever, and the servers are all like thrown away and formatted, so there's no way to get anything back, right? So the first thing we thought it was important is to kind of decentralize the storage, right? So to have multiple copies of the agreement file, and also we also didn't want ourselves to be like the custodian for data, because that just brings like a lot of like, that might make development easier, but long-term wise, it's actually quite bad for both you and us, because like for you, it means, well, how is this different from DocuSign, right? And for us, like, I don't want to hold on to your data. Like if something goes wrong, I'm liable for it, and I don't want to do that. So for decentralizing the data storage, we kind of use Arweave as a storage infrastructure. And since Arweave is actually, so not a lot of people, well, some people know, but not everyone know what Arweave is. It's also a blockchain, but it's optimized for data storage. So storing data on Arweave is really cheap, and not to be confused with like IPFS. IPFS is not a blockchain. It's just like think of it as like a file sharing platform globally, but it's not a blockchain. Like if you delete an old file from IPFS, nothing bad's going to happen. But if you delete like some data from old Arweave, you can't really do that, because it's just like you can't just remove some historical data from Ethereum randomly, right? You're going to break the blockchain. So since Arweave is a blockchain, the agreements that we store there are replicated among all the nodes that run the Arweave full node. So that really ensures the availability. Now, so there's another challenge though, and this is why I said like, if we do it in a centralized way, we make developing really easy. Because if you just ran your own servers behind closed doors, then like who knows if the user data is encrypted or anything, right? No one knows, because it's a black box. But the problem with Arweave and any other blockchain is, as you know, and this is how we're able to track all the hackers, is that like all the data, all the transactions, they're public, right? And even on Ethereum, even if you don't verify a smart contract, even if you don't verify the code, the compiled version is still out there, and people can like use a disassembler to kind of like reverse engineer the logic. So like everything is public, and that brings a challenge, which is security and privacy, right? Because everything's public, and obviously like you don't want a lot of agreements, they're quite sensitive, right? The data is sensitive. You don't want everyone to be able to see it, right? So we also had to develop like an in-house encryption solution. Now we can use some really straight from the shelf solutions like just using a password. But then how am I supposed to send you the password? And what if, and this is, we actually had that in the beginning, and some of our long time users, they forgot about the password, what the password was, and they had no idea how to access it, right? And also if the password leaks and everyone else can see the file, it's the encryption is useless. So we developed an in-house solution, which makes sure that only those who participate in the signing process can decrypt the agreement. And the only way that anyone else can do it is one of the signing parties loses their private key. So that's so a lot of challenges when it comes to were brought on from trying to decentralize storage. But we kind of overcame all of them, and we think that it's actually for the better because it really made us grow as a team and made me grow. And the other aspect, which is decentralized verification, meaning that anyone should be able to verify the integrity of the agreement and all the signatures' validity without contacting us, right? Like if we die tomorrow, I hope I don't, because I haven't profited from any bull runs yet because I'm a trader. But I like to at least be in the green once for one market cycle before I die. But if we disappear tomorrow, our goal is that you should still be able to verify the things that you sign on EthSign, right? Independently, but by yourself, right? So regarding this, we have the tools available for anyone to verify the signatures that are signed on EthSign independently, as well as the integrity of the document. And I'd like to point out again that this is like not available at all in traditional signing solutions like DocuSign. You don't really know what's being signed. You don't really know like what's the proof, and all you can do is you can like request them to send you some certificate and they'll send it to you, but there's no way for you to independently verify like what is actually, like if it's actually valid or anything. But we have that in the spirit of decentralization.
Quick message from Galileo FX, the world's top trading bot. Galileo uses advanced algorithms, customizable strategies to enhance efficiency, reduce errors, and operate 24/7, which is pretty incredible, providing a more significant advantage over traditional manual trading, which is much more of a hassle and harder to do. So go to GalileoFX.com to learn how you can start automating all of your trades today. Back to the episode. Have you guys thought about using any other novel technologies like ZK proofs, for example, to like kind of find a workaround for this?
ZK proofs, yes. So that is, I'm going to hint at this in a bit. We don't really have any new products coming up in this year or next year. This year mostly because we have like a lot of products already. And but hint hint, we're going to have something to do with ZK proof. We're going to have one new product that has something to do with ZK proof and also your identity documents. So we're definitely looking into that space as well. And ZK proof, it's a really cool word to use, and technically it is quite interesting and it's hard to wrap your head around. But we want to try to avoid this trap of using some novel technology for the sake of using it, if you know what I mean. We would only use it if the use case makes sense and if the UX makes sense. There's no point in using a piece of technology if no one wants to use it because it's too complicated.
You mentioned identity too just a second ago. Can you touch on that at all in terms of maybe what you guys are starting to think about as in terms of like a product for identity? Maybe it could be for like authorizing consent to something or interacting with socials or an email or Telegram or a messenger, or something as simple as that or as complicated as a password manager or I don't know, a financial account. Like, is there a direction that you guys maybe want to take that you have in mind at this point?
Yeah. So we actually have we already got started on some identity stuff on EthSign. So if you use EthSign, you'll see that it currently integrates SingPass, which is the official Singapore digital ID system. So anyone who binds their wallet address to their SingPass, you would have your name and the last four digits of your SingPass ID imprinted below your visual signature when you're signing some agreement on EthSign. So that's kind of like a soft eKYC almost, right? So that's like one way. Again, back to the Web 2.5 thing, we're trying to link the two worlds together, right? So that's one way that we're trying to leverage different forms of identity into like one. We're trying to make it like cohesive into like one user experiment. The other thing that we're trying to that we're piloting is actually called SignPass. Now it's very confusing because the spelling is almost the same. It's just SignPass and SignPass, but SignPass is Singapore, SignPass is us. So SignPass, it's another option for you to kind of bring your real world identity on chain. So it's our pilot program, which currently grants holders access to a Sierra Leone permanent residency card, and also discounted PR programs for other countries in the future. So basically, you're going to have a blockchain-based green card, basically, and we're actually helping the countries to slowly move some of their government infrastructure on chain so that it's more efficient. This is our first step into the world of government efficiency with blockchain technology, and we're actually building Sierra Leone's PR program on the blockchain, actually on Sign protocol. So the whole proof of authority thing, now this is a government authority, so it's a perfect use case, right? And we're also in active talks with some other governments like Montenegro, Thailand, and Ras Al Khaimah, which is like one of the Emirates in the UAE, I believe. Yeah. So, and for EthSign as well, we actually post the signing records, not the data itself, not like the agreements themselves, but like some metadata surrounding the agreement. We post them on the sign protocol so that, like, again, it's like a one-stop shop for like all of your data identity. Again, it's an aggregator, so we try to combine everything together so that it's really easy for anyone who wants to consume that data to build things on top of it. Regarding identity, regarding consent, you can just come here and query anything.
Another product I want to get to that also seems to be pretty popular that you have is called TokenTable. What can you tell us about that in terms of it being a token distribution platform, and maybe what separates it from other token distribution platforms and makes it unique?
Yeah, of course. What separates it from others is that it was stuck in product hell for a year. No, I'm just kidding. But that's true. That's true. But that's not what separates it from the other ones. So in short, TLDR is TokenTable is, I would say, quite nice. Of course, it's my own product. Obviously, I'm going to say that. But due to its, I think, feature set, flexibility, efficiency, coverage, and security. And what does that really mean, though, right? So here, like a few more detailed explanation, right? So firstly, TokenTable, we're really flexible when it comes to scale. So we can actually scale up to millions of recipients and discrete unlocks. And we actually have, under the TokenTable umbrella, we actually have three different internal solutions to accommodate different client requirements and use cases. So kind of no matter what you need, we will have something that kind of fits your needs. And if we don't have it, then it's time for the fourth solution, right? And when it comes to TokenTable, so what it is basically, again, it's like token unlocking and also airdrop. So it works for both kind of airdropping to retail, and also as a project, you want to unlock like a lot of money to like a smaller number of investors with like unlocking schedules. We can accommodate everything, or you want to have airdrops with vesting schedules. We can do that too, right? And another thing that kind of separates us from a lot of our peers is that some of our peers, they make the users, or they make the project owners, they make them choose from like a set number of predefined unlocking schedules, like some linear graph that's predefined, or some cliff and linear combo that's predefined. But for us, we actually allow users to freely build their own unlocking graph. You can build any graph that you want. We actually have a graph builder for that. It's 100% customizable. Like you can have 3 different cliffs spread between 4 linear unlocks. It makes 0 sense at all. But my point is, like, you can build something like that with us totally. Like no matter how weird or how odd it is, like we can accommodate that. And for the investor part, and both like retail and institutional investors, TokenTable provides a great deal of transparency because we build everything based on smart contracts. So all the unlocking parameters, they're fully transparent in the TokenTable smart contracts. So like any counterparty risk that you're like, oh, like I don't know if they're going to pay up or anything, it's all the risks are controllable. Like you're able to identify the risk and you're able to quantify the risks, right? It's not like a black box where you just kind of have to take your word for it. It's kind of like, what my co-founder Potter, he actually got rug pulled by someone. So he was buying some SAFT for this other project, I believe. And he should have made him use TokenTable, but they didn't use TokenTable. And what happened was that the middleman that was facilitating the transaction. So the traditional SAT is literally like a PDF document, right? And some claiming information. You have no idea if like you can actually go claim by the time it unlocks. And that's what happened to it. The middleman disappeared. He couldn't claim anything, and his money is already paid. So he was like, he's pretty fucked, right? But for TokenTable, what's unique is that each unlocking schedule is also minted as an NFT, which is sent to the recipient's wallet. And this is mostly talking about institutional investors. For airdrops, we use like a different system. So we have three systems, so it's a different one. But for institutional investors with like big money involved, right? So you will have an NFT in your wallet, and basically that NFT, we call it the future token. So what the future token means is that it's basically a redemption token for the unlocking schedule, meaning that as long as you have it, you have the rights to claim, to make claims to the tokens that this unlocking schedule unlocks. And another great thing about it being an NFT is that NFTs are tradable, right? Which means that it makes trading SAFs so much simpler, safer, and streamlined. And we can make use of all the existing infrastructure. Now, I'm pretty sure you don't want to sell a SAF in OpenSea, and we have ways to like facilitate like your OTC trades like that. But if you really wanted to somehow sell like 1% of sign on the OpenSea, I mean, you probably could, but we don't recommend that, right? But because it's an NFT, this is really safe because you can basically, you can have, as the buyer of the SAF, right? You will know that you can claim something as long as you have the NFT delivered into your wallet, right? Like there's no doubt, there's no like doubt about that, right? And again, because it's an NFT, because it's kind of quote unquote blockchain, it's blockchain native, which and it opens up a lot of possibilities when it comes to kind of interacting with DeFi. So for example, you can even use your unlocking schedule as like a collateral to take out loans or something. I think that's something that's like quite interesting that we can do with TokenTable. And obviously, when it comes to UI UX, we're constantly revamping our product, doing internal product research, and reworking some parts of our product that our users don't find intuitive. We're really fast and iterative about this. And we don't. It's not the kind of product where we kind of work on it once and then we just say, oh, it's done. We're just not gonna do it anymore. It's like It's very much an evolving product, right? And as I said, we have three different solutions under a name TokenTable. So we talked about the future token stuff, which is for institutional investors. We also have a Merkle tree based solution that we were able to do that we basically use for airdrops, and we're able to use it to distribute millions of tokens on the Telegram blockchain, Ton, right? And we also had our signature-based solution, which is really flexible because you can. It's basically you can use it to you can add any sort of off-chain metrics to your claim criteria. For example, like Twitter engagement, whatever. And that's kind of what we did for Kaido's airdrop, most recently on Base. So we used it, which is like that just kind of shows how flexible TokenTable really is. And last but not least, as we said before, there's a great deal of transparency for the investors that kind of hold the future tokens, and they can see the unlocking details and schedules in the smart contract. But for the community as well, right? Because it's smart contract based. Any project that uses TokenTable to distribute their tokens, we actually have something called a financial due diligence dashboard. So where members of the community can basically visually learn about the details of unlocking schedules, where the money is going to, and when are the unlocking dates, how much is being unlocked. Now obviously, we're not gonna this is an option for you. If you don't want us to do it, we won't expose you. If you have like some sketchy stuff, although we try our best to we also have like, it's also our brand, right? We don't want to support some like rug pull project. But if you really don't want to preserve privacy, it's up to you. But basically, we can gather a lot of goodwill and trust from the community if everyone can transparently just track your unlocking schedule as a project.
How far do you think TokenTable can evolve? Like, for example, you mentioned RWAs earlier in the episode, and RWAs and asset-backed tokenization is going to get really, really big relatively soon. And I think a lot of asset managers and financial institutions are looking at it being multi-trillion-dollar industry sometime in the 2030s. And I imagine a lot of platforms will probably try and find ways to cater to it. But I'm curious, like, if you guys maybe are looking at a route where TokenTable can also evolve to handle those kind of assets or tokens that are asset backed or attached to property or to tangible assets that you own, like you're trying to resell a Louis bag, or you own some really nice Jordans. Maybe you're trying to resell that token on a different market, or maybe it's tied to some kind of license or permit. I mean, there's so many things and different ways this could go. I'm just kind of curious if you guys have maybe thought about ways TokenTable could evolve towards that.
Oh yeah, definitely. So like when you at a glance, our products might seem a bit disjointed, but when you think about this, right? TokenTable manages assets. EthSign bridges Web 2 and Web 3 identities, so the sign protocol. So that's kind of like almost like an RWA toolkit, I would say. You can use TokenTable to manage the assets, and you can prove the assets are actually what they say off chain with some certificate from an issuing authority on sign protocol, or you can and you can sign like the onboarding agreements, and obviously because they still have legacy systems, right? So they want they want to sign like actual PDF to prove stuff. Then we can do that with eSign. So this all three of our products we actually work together to kind of it's actually quite cogent, despite you're like, oh, it's an on-chain DocuSign and airdropping. I mean, I don't see the connection, but this is kind of what it is.
Interesting. Any notable or interesting projects that you can highlight as some examples or use cases that have used TokenTable as of recently?
Oh yeah, yeah. So like TokenTable has a very wide, very far reach. So we are on a lot of the popular EVMs, and if the project asks for it, we can deploy it because it's all Solidity. We're also on Cairo VM, which is basically Starknet. We're on Solana, we're on Ton, and we're on Move VM. So for example, Movement Labs and Aptos, we're on those two. And some notable projects that used us is actually the really big one is actually a Starknet Foundation. So they actually the foundation uses us to unlock tokens and also grants to their partners and investors. So we think that's really cool natively on Starknet. Um, Nobody fun story, like they were looking at some of our peers, but none of them were able to code it up on Starknet because it's a different language. And I met them, and then I was then stuck in Singapore for a month because of visa issues, and I had nothing to do, so I just learned I learned how to build on Starknet in a month and finished it. And yeah, so Starknet Foundation definitely very big, and also we did the EVM airdrops for Movement Labs, and also Docs, Pixel, and Woof on Ton, and also still on EVM Mochaverse. We did their airdrop. They had a lot of different criteria, on-chain criteria, like some NFT stuff. I don't even remember. It was like a year ago, but we did it for Mochaverse, and we also did all the airdrops for Zeta Chain. All the airdrops from Zeta Chain, it's us, and also most recently, Kaido on base. So yeah, so that's like some pretty cool projects that we did.
What's coming up on the horizon for you guys here in 2025? I know you mentioned some things that you guys are working on in terms of additional projects at some point, but anything you want to announce for users or that they should keep an eye on, any key dates that they should keep in mind, as well as any engagements maybe you guys are doing this year? Are you going to any events, attending any conferences, doing any panels, stuff like that? What should people be aware of?
I think, so we always have a presence in various conferences. So you can always chat to one of our team members there. Probably Potter or one of our BD people will be there. And in terms of products, yeah, I briefly talked about some kind of like ZK based identity document thing. And more of a hint, it's actually going to be a mobile app, which is a first for us because we've always been doing desktop stuff, but some stuff just requires a mobile app to make it work. So we're pretty excited about that. But otherwise, like we're not going to release like too many products. We don't want to. No, okay. So some of our peers in the industry, they are very good at chasing trends. So, which is like, it's fun, it's one way to survive, right? We're all surviving here. If if you're able to chase a trend quick enough, then you can make it work. And you don't really need any product market fit. You just need to chase the hype and let the hype take you somewhere, and then you immediately hop onto the next like hype train when the current one fades. But that's kind of not how we want to operate. So we want to spend more time on refining what we already have. So like our current products can live up to their full potentials. For example, for EthSign, it's our earliest product that we released. It started as a hackathon project, and I wrote it myself in like 3 days. But that was like in mid to late 2020. That was a long time ago. And now like we're on our fifth version of it, and we basically did like a complete rewrite. Like every version we do almost a complete wipe of the code base to start over, because we want to make it more interesting, want to make it more compatible with different wallets. I mean, right now eSign is probably the only thing out there that like lets you sign agreements across networks. So for example, if you have a Solana wallet and I have an EVM wallet, and someone else has like a Tom wallet in their Telegram app, we can actually sign the same agreement, which is pretty cool, right? Now, so for eSign, right, we like our most recent revamp was because I talked about how we wanted the user experience to be familiar, and we can match, and we would even argue that like in some instances our UX is actually better than DocuSign's UX. But in order to do that, you need like a visual PDF view where you need like to edit things and whatnot. And that actually, we used to license it from an external vendor, which was quite expensive. And so in the latest version, we just forked Mozilla Firefox, Mozilla's open source PDF reader and PDF.js, and we just kind of re-implemented it ourselves to make it be able to like accommodate even more features that we wanted to do. So no product is abandoned by us. Like even no matter how old it is, like we think there's always life, there's always an angle to make it better and to make it useful to more people. And we kind of and I like this approach because it means that you're not just kind of going through users, rather you're kind of building up it's easier for you to like build up like a more loyal customer base. Now, like if you've seen those Twitter accounts or social media accounts where they have like a bunch of followers but no engagement, because those are not like loyal or actually engaging followers or engaging users. But for us, we want to build like a real user base. And and if you want loyal users, then you have to be loyal to your users, right? It's kind of, it works both ways. So we're not going to just kind of push out products and just neglect the one and then neglect them immediately. So we try to like be more methodical when it comes to kind of opening new product lines and whatnot. So yeah, like, sorry, that was a long answer, but in a nutshell, aside from the ZK based mobile app with identity stuff, which I won't talk about too much for now, there's not not a lot of things, not a lot of new things in 2025, but we're going to have like a hell of a lot like extensions or refinements or existing products.
Yeah, and I think people will appreciate that a lot too. There's a lot of companies, again, like you mentioned earlier, they try to jump on the trend and create the latest and hottest new thing and ride that. And I get it and definitely have nothing against it, but it kind of sucks when you're a user and you're like, you're on one thing and all of a sudden it pivots to another hot topic over here in DeFi. And you're like, oh, I got to go over here. And then it's like, oh, this is popping up in regards to NFTs. And you're like, oh, I got to go back over here. It's really hard to manage that as a user, and you get this like burnout, and it's like you don't want to participate or build a little bit of a relationship with a brand essentially. So I think it's really good that you guys really foster your products and really continue to build them out. And I think that'll also resonate really well with the people that are in your guys' community and using your products over time too. So I commend you for that. It's hard to do, but I think it'll pay off big time in the long term. Speaking of community, do you guys have a Telegram or a Discord or a place you're kind of congregating people together, or is that primarily on socials, or where can people find the Sign community folks?
Oh yeah, yeah. So we have a really strong community called Orange Dynasty. I didn't come up with that name, but I think it's quite a good name. So on Twitter, the official account handle is at EthSign, it's our old name. But our community oriented account is called like the Orange Dynasty account is just at sign. So we actually managed to get like this super short handle, which is pretty cool. And for the other stuff, yes, we have like a really popping Discord. And in Discord, we actually have a ticket system where, if you have any questions or if you have any issues with the products or, you found like a security vulnerability, you can come to us, create a ticket, and, we can have like a one-on-one thing. And also we have like a really big Telegram community as well. And, our community members are really all over the world, like in Africa and Southeast Asia, everywhere. It's actually quite crazy. It's quite insane. And last week, let me tell you about some of the cool things that our community's done. Cool slash borderline insane, I think. So like they're organizing like in-person meetups on their own, which I think is really cool. And you kind of need a sizable community to even have people to come to those meetups. And they're printing their own merch, which I think is also really cool. And but we did tell them like, hey, like let us send you a high res logo, like use this one next time. And but there was another person. I forgot his like handle or something, but he tattooed sign onto himself, which that's definitely some commitment. And I'm simultaneously intrigued and scared by this because like I feel like now like I'm responsible for this person now, yeah, but we have, so visit our website to get the links to like our Telegram, Discord, whatever, at sign.global. So just like sign.global, that's the website name. Really cool website. It actually looks really expensive, like, to be honest. And I'm not even showing the website because it's mine. I'm just saying it because the animations look insane. But you're gonna find like all of our social links up there, as well as like intros and some information about like all of our products up there. Sign.global.
Absolutely. Is there a way for someone to reach out to you if they want to work with you guys? Maybe there's a partnership or a collaboration in mind, or whatnot, or they just want to chit chat. Where's the best place to get in contact?
If you want like a more one-on-one conversation, like collaborations and whatnot, I would recommend Discord and opening a ticket. And then, our community person Zoe, she will basically maybe drag me into the chat, into the ticket, and then, we can talk. But, just chit-chatting, I think, Discord also. And also Telegram, but although, there are a lot of people that just says like GM all day, but that's just how it is. They think that it's going to lead to airdrops. I don't know if it will, but if everyone does GM, then it's kind of pointless. Like if everyone does it, then no one does it.
Cool, man. Well, we'll make sure we put everything in the description for the episode below so people can find all those links, communities, and whatnot. But Jack, I appreciate you taking the time today. It's been a really good episode, learned a lot, and keep up all the great work with Sign, man. Looking forward to what you guys do the rest of this year.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. Have a nice day.